All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something pretty cool. We're going to crack open the original 2014 white paper for Ethereum. We want to really get to the heart of its foundational vision, which was, believe it or not, to build a new kind of world computer.
What's interesting is that the story of Ethereum doesn't start with tearing down Bitcoin. Not at all. It actually begins with a huge amount of respect for what a massive breakthrough Bitcoin was. The white paper makes it super clear this was a monumental first step.
But the authors had this nagging question. They saw that, yeah, decentralized money was revolutionary, but what if the technology behind it, the blockchain, was actually the bigger deal, like way more important than just the currency itself?
Okay, so let's really dive into that. The core idea, the real revolution here, is that Bitcoin's biggest innovation wasn't just digital cash. It was the blockchain, this incredible new tool for getting a whole network of people to agree on something without a central boss.
So what is that really? In simple terms, it's a way to build trust online. You don't need a bank, you don't need a big server in the middle. It's just this shared, unchangeable ledger, a source of truth that everyone on the network can see and, crucially, agree on. And look, Bitcoin used this tech to create a decentralized currency, and it did it brilliantly. But, and this is the big but, the creators of Ethereum saw a problem. This amazing trust-building machine was basically being used for just one thing. It's kind of like inventing the entire internet and then only ever using it for email. Can you imagine? So the white paper goes on to meticulously break down how Bitcoin, even though it was a genius invention, was kind of stuck. It had these built-in limits in its design. It was powerful for sure, but it was also locked inside a box, designed for one very specific purpose. And the paper points to 4 specific limitations. You can think of them like handcuffs on this brilliant idea. First, its programming language wasn't Turing complete. That's a fancy way of saying it couldn't do loops or complex programs. It was also value blind, meaning a script couldn't even check how much Bitcoin was being sent. Can you believe that? Plus, it had no memory of past events, no state, and couldn't even see data from its own blockchain. All these things together meant that trying to build anything complex on top of Bitcoin was, well, incredibly difficult, if not totally impossible. So this all leads to the one crucial question that really drives the whole Ethereum white paper. How do you unchain this incredible technology from just one single application? How do you take that core idea of a blockchain and blow it wide open, turn it into a platform that anyone can build on? And that's where Ethereum comes in. The vision wasn't just to build a better Bitcoin. No, it was to build something fundamentally new, something they called the ultimate abstract foundational layer. Basically, a neutral, open platform where anyone could come and build their own decentralized apps. And this one sentence right here from the white paper, it pretty much contains the entire vision. A blockchain with a fully fledged Turing-complete programming language. That's the key. Again, Turing-complete is just a way of saying it can run pretty much any program you can think of. So by doing that, you're handing developers the keys to the kingdom. They can create any rules, any transaction formats, any process they can possibly imagine. And I love this analogy because it just illustrates the leap in thinking so perfectly. Bitcoin, it's like a specialized calculator. It's built to do one thing, peer-to-peer electronic cash, and it does it incredibly well. But Ethereum's vision? That was to be a smartphone, a general-purpose platform where developers could come and build millions of different apps, limited only by their own creativity. Okay, so a programmable blockchain. What does that even mean? How does it actually work? Well, the answer lies in this amazing concept the paper introduces called smart contracts. The easiest way to think about a smart contract is like a digital vending machine. Seriously, it's just a little autonomous agent, a piece of code that lives on the Ethereum blockchain. You send it a transaction, that's like putting in a coin, and it automatically spits out an outcome based on rules that are hard-coded right into it. And the best part? Those rules can't be changed or censored by anyone. And this process, this state transition function, is literally the heartbeat of Ethereum. See, the entire blockchain is just one giant shared state, and every single transaction that comes in triggers some code in a smart contract. That contract runs, computes a change, and the entire network then agrees on the new, updated state of the ledger. It's a world computer where every single calculation is verified by everybody. It's pretty wild when you think about it. Okay, but a world computer like this, it can't just run for free, right? It needs fuel, and that's where ether and gas come into the picture.
Ether's the network's native currency, sure, but gas is the really critical part. It's the fee you pay to actually run a transaction or execute a contract. This is so important because it prevents people from just running infinite loops and bogging down the network, and makes sure the whole system's resources are used efficiently and fairly. All right, so we've got this incredible new tool, a programmable blockchain, this world's computer. So what can you actually build with it? Because this isn't just some technical curiosity for nerds, right? No, this opens the door to a universe of possibilities, a whole new world of applications that you just couldn't build before. The white paper actually laid out 3 broad categories of applications they envisioned. First, you've got your financial stuff, but think way, way beyond just sending money. We're talking hedging contracts, wills, you name it. Then there are semi-financial applications, things where money is involved, but it's not the whole story, like bounties for solving problems. And finally, and this is maybe the coolest part, non-financial applications, things that have nothing to do with money at all, like online voting or entire governance systems. And what's really amazing is how simple some of these powerful ideas become. Take token systems. The white paper points out that at its core, a currency is just a simple database, right? It just subtracts from one account and adds to another. On a platform like Ethereum, you could whip up a brand new digital currency or company stocks or collectibles with just a few lines of code. It's incredible. But then they took it a step further with an even more radical idea. DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. I mean, this is straight out of science fiction. The white paper was laying the groundwork for creating companies that could literally run themselves. Imagine that, a company with no CEO, where all the bylaws are just code. All the rules for voting and spending money are enforced automatically by the blockchain itself, not by a bunch of lawyers or managers. And the list just keeps going. The sheer breadth of ideas in his paper is just staggering. They were talking about things like automatic crop insurance that pays out based on weather data feeds. They talked about decentralized cloud computing, prediction markets. I mean, the goal was so clear. They weren't trying to build one specific thing. They were trying to build a foundational layer that could support countless future innovations. And this quote just perfectly captures the spirit of the whole project. It's so open-ended and ambitious. The creators knew they couldn't possibly predict everything that would be built on this thing. Their goal wasn't to imagine every app, it was just to provide the tools to make all those future apps possible. So when you boil it all down, the big takeaway is this. The Ethereum vision was never, ever just about a new kind of money. It was a blueprint for a totally different kind of internet. One that's more decentralized, more programmable, and more open. A truly shared computing platform for the entire world. And what's just wild to think about is that this entire incredibly detailed framework was laid out in a paper way back in 2014. This was years before the network was even a real thing. It was just this incredibly bold prediction of what the future could look like. And that really brings us full circle, back to that original vision, right? To create a platform for the things that we haven't even imagined yet. And here we are, a decade later, and that question is just as relevant as it was back then. So it leaves you wondering, looking at this foundation, this world computer, what comes next?